this is Miranda from Twinkl ESL, and today we are joined by Stephan from What They Don't Teach You on the CELTA. And that's an incredible website and blog that helps teachers continue their professional development and keep learning, because let's face it, the CELTA is great, but you can't learn everything in 4 weeks. And today Stephan is going to teach us about Scottish English, what makes it fantastic, and why your students shouldn't be nervous about listening to Scottish people. So let's see what he has to say. So can you teach us 5 words that somebody who's visiting Scotland should know?
Yeah, sure. I think there's the obvious ones that maybe even people outside of Scotland already know. There's the typical one that we use instead of little, which is the word we, and that's W-E-E, which I think has been parodied in enough American films based on Scotland that not a lot of people will know. So we, a wee person, a wee thing, being small, so that's quite an important one, I'd say. I'm guessing you've heard of that one, Miranda?
Yep.
Okay. Another one that's quite nice to use, because it's nice to use positive words, is bonny.
Yes.
And that just means something that's maybe pretty or beautiful. So we might talk about a bonny lassie, a pretty girl. Nice. Or we might talk about a bonny view from the top of a mountain. There's a beautiful vista of somewhere. Nice. So bonny, and that's B-O-N-N-I-E, if anybody's taking notes. Mm-hmm. So we've got we've got bonny. And then there's one that's a little bit of an indicator of which part of Scotland somebody's from. So I'm going to give you 2 for the price of 1 here. Okay. And that's, if we're describing children or kids, we might talk about a bairn. And that would tell me that you're from the same part of the world as me. That would tell me you're from the east coast of Scotland.
Okay, so Edinburgh, that's
Edinburgh, like, Dundee, that kind of neck of the woods, yeah. And that's B-A-I-R-N, a bairn. Mm-hmm. So instead of child, we might say bairn. There's a bairn, there's a wee bairn over there crying, go and ask him what's wrong. But if you go across to the west, to Glasgow, you won't hear people talking about bairns, you'll hear people talking about wains. And that is not the name Wayne. That's actually, it's kind of like a little abbreviation of wee one. And that then sort of transforms itself into Wayne. And that's W-E-A-N. So I'm not sure if you've heard of those ones, Miranda.
No, I don't think I've ever heard Wayne. That's a great word. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, it's a good way of maybe judging which part of Scotland somebody's from, depending on which one they use. So bairn, East Coast, Wayne, West Coast. And the people in the middle, who knows, they might switch between the 2. So that's 3 kind of common ones. Another one that really confuses people, and I can totally understand why, is the word messages.
Messages?
Yes. Now, you and I think of these things when we talk about messages. You're going to get a text message on your phone or a WhatsApp message. Certainly for me growing up, going to get your messages had nothing to do with a mobile phone, but everything to do with your shopping, your food shopping, your grocery shopping.
That's brilliant. So what are messages in Scotland?
So messages are, you go to the supermarket. Why are you going to the supermarket? I'm going to get my messages.
Okay, so your messages are your groceries, your bread, and your milk.
Exactly. Okay. So if you hear, it's probably someone from an older generation or somebody who maybe doesn't know if you're not from Scotland, they might say that they're a way to get their messages, and you think, well, surely they're on your phone, but no. they're at Tesco or they're at Sainsbury's. So you've got to go, and other supermarkets are available, but you've got to go get yourself to the supermarket for your messages if you hear that. So
Amazing.
you might hear it in these contexts.
Ah, I'd never had that before.
There we go.
That's amazing. You know, like England and Scotland, geographically, we're pretty close. We're not that far away, but there are words that I've never heard before.
I think some of these words might trickle down into Northumberland and into Cumbria, but probably not much further south than that, although I stand to be corrected by Yorkshiremen and Lancashire people everywhere.
Yeah.
The fifth one is one that people from Scotland don't usually realise is not used outside of Scotland because it sounds so English. And I think that after this, Miranda, I hope that you will even use this word.
Yeah,
so
tell me.
This is out with.
Out with?
Yes.
Okay, can you give me an example sentence with out with?
I can indeed. Many years ago, I was working in China. I was managing the schedule for a bunch of teachers, and I put a little note that said, please conduct placement tests with new students, even out with your allotted times. And I popped this up on the notice board, and I got a queue of American, English, Australian, Canadians, teachers coming up to me and saying, that's fine, but what's with this out with word? We had to look it up in the dictionary. And it simply means outside.
Okay.
So we might talk about out with normal opening hours, out with your allocated times, out with the boundaries of a country. Okay. And it sounds very English. It doesn't sound particularly Scottish.
It sounds Shakespearean, yeah.
Possibly. It could be a relic. And if you look it up in the dictionary, it will say chiefly used in Scottish English. But it's one that maybe catches more Scots by surprise than people from outside. And I think it's usually quite obvious from the context what people are trying to say. But you'll probably hear it more in Scotland than anywhere else.
Amazing. So let's see if I can remember those 5 words. It was wee, meaning little. Bonny, meaning pretty or lovely, beautiful. There was Ben's and when.
Not bad pronunciation. I'll give you that one, Miranda. That's okay.
Out with.
Yep.
And then there was messages, meaning your groceries.
Messages for groceries. Yes, absolutely.
Amazing. Okay, great. I'm going to incorporate them into my daily English to confuse my friends. And are there any phrases that you only hear in Scotland?
When we talk about someone looking a wee bit peely-wally.
Peely-wally, okay. Is that just a little bit like pale?
Exactly.
Under the weather. Okay.
Exactly. See, you're getting it, Miranda, already. You're fluent.
I must have some Scottish blood somewhere.
There we go. So you're looking at peely-wally. Maybe you haven't been anywhere with sunshine for a while, or alternatively, you might be feeling a little bit sick or under the weather, and people get a bit paler, and so they might need a little pick-me-up, or they might need some rest, or you might just want to comment on somebody who's not looking too well at the moment. So a wee bit peely-wally.
And are there any words that are just pronounced differently in Scottish English that might be confusing for someone who hasn't heard the accent before? Yeah,
this is one that becomes a little bit controversial, I think, Miranda, because if we're using the IPA chart in class, or if we're using dictionary transcriptions for definitions, then we venture into a term or into a realm where a lot of it becomes quite prescriptive about how we pronounce certain words. And then if you look at an American dictionary and a British English dictionary, you might find some differences anyway in how these words are transcribed. But in general, I think Scottish words, or Scottish pronunciation of many English words, it comes down to the vowels.
Okay, can you give us some examples?
So words that in let's call it typical English, will have longer vowel sounds. I'm thinking of words here like door or I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but words which have those double dots when you are sort of looking at the transcription, those tend to be probably a little bit shorter for most Scots. So we're talking about door rather than a door. And I think that sometimes catches people out. I think that might be what makes people think we speak fast or perhaps quicker than other parts of the UK. And just the quality of the vowel is just a tad shorter in these type of words. In other cases, you might hear a lack of distinction with the oo sound. And I'm not going to pretend to be able to distinguish it very well myself. Miranda, you might be able to give a better example where things like book, cool, look, good, for me, they generally feel very, very similar to the point of no difference at all.
Okay, so Pull, pull, and pool that you swim in. How would you say those two words in Scottish with us?
That would be a pull, and you pull the door. And for me, I think those are pretty much the same.
Okay, fantastic. I love it. And yeah, I mean, there's so many accents in the UK alone. I think it's great to have more of those represented in textbooks and in these charts that we see in classroom walls that are, like you say, super prescriptive. Yeah. And finally, my final question for you is, why would you recommend people to come and learn English in Scotland?
Well, I think, you know, almost like a good Amazon review. I could probably count on, you know, one hand the number of students who have come here and regretted it. But I've heard a lot more, or many times more, who have come here intending to just maybe study English in one of the language schools in Edinburgh for a month or two during the summer or whenever they get their holidays. And they end up coming back and staying. They end up, you know, setting down roots here. And I think once you get beneath the surface, and perhaps the language is one of those things, and the weather as well. Nobody's going to pretend that it's sunny and warm here all the time, as I watch people pass by with umbrellas in the middle of August. But I think once you're here, Edinburgh and Glasgow, they kind of, and the other cities as well, they have a kind of hold on people in a positive way. And I think that's to do with the mix of the locals. Edinburgh, for example, is a very diverse city in many respects, and you know, you've got easy access to all the kind of things you'd want to buy in you know, back home, wherever that may be, because of the different cultures we've got here. And really the language is it becomes less of an issue. The pronunciation, it becomes almost not an issue at all.
Well, I just want to say a huge thank you, and for people watching, Stephan's blog is incredible. Loads of tips and ideas and help for teachers who are just starting out, and for teachers who want to keep improving, because that's what we all want, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And yeah, I will see you all soon at twinkl.co.uk. See you soon. Bye bye.